Hi, everybody. Welcome to Connecting with Jennifer Filzen. Today I have Doug Lawrence up in Saskatchewan, Canada, and I'm super excited to talk to you, Doug. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. This is great. So here at Connecting with Jennifer Filzen, we just like to connect and we miss people, right? And I know that COVID restrictions are still happening as of May 2021 up where you are. And before we started today's show, you were telling me a little bit about the restrictions up there. How has everything affected you, and what is going on in your community overall? Is everyone sustaining? Are you guys okay?
So for me, it's been a bit of a challenge, and part of that is because I'm a relationship sort of person, so I need that social interaction with people. And other than the virtual, the virtual touching, so to speak, I haven't really been able to. It's only been this last little while where, like I finished today, I finished a 2.5 hour session with a young person that has bipolar and is dealing with that. So I was able to connect face to face, and it just makes such a difference. And the other part, I guess, to that whole story is the fact that growing up as a young person, I was born and raised on a farm, and other than my immediate family, it was a long ways away to go and meet with somebody. And doing what we do today, where we pick up the phone and we say, "Come and meet me at Cafe X," there was nothing to do that. So what I'm doing today is helping fill that void that I didn't have before, that I wasn't able to connect. And
Yeah.
it's, and I'll sort of fast forward to today. When I look at what's going on here locally in Regina, I mean, we're in a pretty stringent lockdown. So I guess is the best way to describe it, with, limitations on household gatherings, no more than immediate family. And as we were talking earlier, for me, because I'm by myself, I can go and visit my daughter and granddaughter and grandson. I can't forget him, of course. But we can't exceed the 5 people in the household, and that makes it tough. Like our granddaughter Olivia, her birthday is coming up on the 10th, and another COVID birthday gets launched or notched into the record books, where she can't have all her family present to help her celebrate her birthday.
Yeah, it is rough. Your granddaughter's name is Lydia. My mom's name is Lydia. I love
Yeah,
that
it's
name.
Olivia.
Oh, sorry, Olivia.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no,
I heard
that's okay.
that and I was like, oh, because that's a rare name. But Olivia is equally lovely. That
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it is really interesting. So I was surveying local folks to me here in Monterey, California, just a couple weeks ago, because some people are saying that, oh, the economy's booming because everyone's going to be traveling. And then other people are like, oh, not all the dominoes have fallen yet. There's a shortage of raw materials, there's a shortage of gasoline, there's different things happening. So even though things are opening up, it's not the same, right? How is the economy up your way?
Um, well, there's definitely room for improvement as far as the economy is concerned. I know that for the work that I do, I took a hit when COVID landed on our doorstep, and I haven't really been able to rebound, even though I've looked at, I'm packaging what I do in a different context, with a bit more of a focus on mental health and mentoring. So, but what you have is you have organizations that are very much focused on wanting to get their employees back to work, so that they're not having to rely on government benefits and all of that. So the focus isn't quite there at what we're supposed to be doing to deal with the stuff for our employees. We're focusing on, we just want to get them back to work so they can get back into obviously getting salary and all that sort of stuff. So um, I I know it's going to turn the corner here at some stage, but I mean, we've just recently gone through another set of restrictions when it came to restaurants where no more inside, no more seating inside. Everything is, it's takeout. The catering businesses are doing a pretty decent job as far as, getting revenue and that sort of stuff. So I mean, for some industries or some businesses, they've been able to, I think, keep afloat. But for the others, it's kind of a wait and see. Are we still going to be able to keep our doors open, or are we not? And for me, one of the areas that is really, I call it my external office, which is the coffee shops. A lot of them ended up folding their doors and said, you know, we can't make enough off of, people coming to the front door and kind of reaching through to get their coffee and then taking off because it's the dainties and the pastries and all that sort of stuff.
You reminded me that coffee shops became the de facto home away from home office place to
Yeah,
go do business, meeting people, meeting clients, you know, um, recruiting, interviewing potential employees. The coffee shop was the 21st century water filler tank. Like you used to be the watering area. Sorry, I'm forgetting the name of it, but like whenever we want to take a little water break.
yeah, the
And
water cooler.
yeah, thank you, water cooler.
Yeah,
Isn't that funny? Like I
yeah,
was
I
part of that
know.
culture, but that was so 20th. That was 20th century. Like
Yeah,
here we are 21 years into the 21st century. It's like it's coffee shops and stuff. And yeah, I mean, gosh, how many students, how many independent contractors, how many entrepreneurs have pretty much held office in some form of a cafe. But let's talk a little bit about you and your business. So you were saying that you've been affected. What is it that you do? How did you arrive at what you do? And most importantly, what makes you special and unique in your field?
very good questions. So I am a international certified mentor. So I've got my certifications from the International Mentoring Community, IMC. I have I'm the only one in the world today that actually has the Certificate of Competence Journey Mentor designation. Um, so what I basically do is I mentor people and I work with organizations to help them have in place a mentoring culture so that benefits not only the organization but the employees as well. I do a number of different things. I have some different services and stuff that I obviously do, like mentoring versus termination. So if you're going to terminate an employee, let me spend 5 hours with them and we'll see if we can do a behavior change. And that way they become that productive employee that that you once again are happy to have back, inside in the building and stuff like that. So I do some of that stuff, and I did a lot of research on mentoring and mental health and how mentoring could actually play a part in the support structure for mental health, post-traumatic stress, all of those pieces of things. And that's where the Journey Mentor certification for mentoring, that's where that came from that research where I saw that there was a need for that to be in place. Was a lot of people were saying, you need to do this. You need to get in front of this mental health thing with your mentoring, because everything that you do and how you approach the mentoring is what we're looking for in the mental health space. If we don't have to put ourselves in a position where we have to be prescribed medication and there's a better way or another way to be able to deal with some of our challenges mentally, then we would rather do that. And because you're able to listen and hear what we're saying and you're non-judgmental, we're half the way down that road towards the healing process. And we just need you to continue to do that. So that's that part of it. And I guess how this whole journey started, gosh, I was mentoring people I'm an ex-Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer. And so while I was still engaged in working in the force, I was actually mentoring people and didn't know it. I didn't know what it was. And fast forward, a couple of years or probably even longer than that, and I started job coaching university students. And the relationship kind of morphed itself from being one of job coaching to one of mentoring. And how that would happen is we'd get them hired, they get into an organization, and then something weird or strange would happen, and they'd go, how the heck do we handle this? Well, let's call Doug. So they called me and they said, what do we do? And so I would ask a series of questions to help them think their way through it. And then away they'd go and they deal with it. And that kept happening, referral after referral after referral, until finally one of them said, Doug, you should really do this for a living. We can't afford to pay you, but I'm sure somebody could. And so I did a bunch of market research, long story short, and found that there was a place for mentor certification, but what was needed was an independent body for the actual certification of mentors. And so I partnered with a company in the United States that offered certification as part of their service. And we created a certification for mentors based on knowledge on the academic side of things. And so fast forward with that to 2017 or 2018, and they decided it was time to move on. And I was getting pressure from the mentoring community to put a certification program or process together based on competence, not just on academic knowledge, but actually on competence. And so I partnered with my current partner, Dr. Stephen Hobbs, who's based in Calgary, Alberta, and he's the certification guru. He's, he's the guy that I always go to for that sort of stuff. And so we work together to put together the certification, the process, and all of the, as we call them, action outcome statements. It's kind of like a competence statement. So, and there's, for the certificate of competence mentor, I think there's about 70 some odd statements that you have to be verified against to be certified. So anyhow, fast forward to that's where we are today, is we have that in existence. And what we need now, sort of the cry that I'm putting out there, is that what we need now is more people to go through to become journey mentors, because I by myself, I can't extend myself too much further to be able to work in that mental health space. And that's where, gosh only knows, that's where we actually need a lot of people to start to get engaged. But it's people that are doing this for the right reasons as well, right? So yeah, so it's been quite the journey.
Yes, it does sound fascinating. There was something that you said earlier, give you 5 hours with a challenging employee and see if you can do a turnaround. That's pretty remarkable, because, I know owning my own business, it's not, an overnight thing that you start seeing a pattern or an issue developing with an employee. It tends to be little things over time. And I know a lot of employers, they do their best to coach them, train them, do these various things. But ultimately, a lot of times, we business owners are not giving them the systems and processes that they need to be successful. So we kind of throw them into the baptism of fire, right? And hope that they make it out, right? But wow, like to be able to turn something around in 5 hours, that's a pretty big claim. If you don't mind, how do you do something so quickly?
I build trust in a very, very compressed period of time. So typically I take the 5 hours and break it into 5 1-hour sessions. In the first one, I'm focused on, let's build some trust here. Let's build a relationship. And then from there, I start to kind of break things down a bit more where I look at, tell me a little bit about how things were for you growing up. What were some of the challenges that you faced? Because what I typically find is if I can unearth what that is, that's probably part of the root cause for the behavior as it is. So, it could be that mom and dad set unrealistic expectations performance-wise, and you've never been, so you have that sense of failure, the lack of self-esteem, you have
Yes.
all of that. So if
You're
I can,
by the
yeah,
perfectionism and the
yeah,
analysis paralysis. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So if I can pump that up and get you to start to see yourself from a different perspective and maybe give you some tips on how to communicate with your boss a little bit better so that, you don't end up, I call it the two roosters in the hen yard, two banty roosters button heads, right? And so if you don't have to be that person, then don't. Let's figure out a different way that you can communicate. And, for the times where you're dealing with a manager or a boss who just is not open to change, then it's all about giving that employee the tools to how do I deal with this person. So when they go off on you because you didn't do what you were supposed to do, what is a way that you can communicate back that, geez, I'm really sorry. Could I do that? Could I have a do-over? Or could I, come up with different, terminology techniques and stuff like that to be able to build your own path of communication with, the people, that you report to.
Right. Wow, you're doing some really great stuff. So I have another question. What is the difference between what you're doing and life coaching? Because and here's where I'm coming from with this. I don't know what it is. People tell me that I'm a coach. I actually don't believe I'm a coach. I do train marketing. I do tend to hang out with coaches. Like everywhere I go, I find all the coaches. I don't know why. I'm apparently a coach magnet. Maybe it's because I am a marketer and coaches need marketers. I don't know. But somehow my peer group has tons of coaches in it. Some are life coaches, some are business coaches, some are fitness coaches, like coaches, coaches, coaches. In your profession and in your experience, and also too, you might have a different perspective of it being up in Canada versus the United States. What is the difference between a life coach and what you're doing?
So I think I'm going to answer the last part first, I think. So the aspect of the difference between, say, Canada and the United States. So I've delivered mentor training in China. I've delivered it in Dubai. So I've actually, we've trained, I think it was 6 individuals that ended up getting certified as mentor practitioners. The There really is, if you adopt the definition of mentoring as it exists today, if you adopt that as sort of your go-to, which is mentoring is a two-way trusted relationship where both the mentor and the mentee are going to learn and grow personally and professionally. If you adopt that, that gets rid of the old philosophy of mentoring, which was the traditional style of mentoring, was about the gray-haired old sage on top of the mountain passing on their wisdom, right? By telling somebody, I've done it this way for 3 decades, so I don't know why you'd want to do it differently. So just go forth and do it this way and everything will work great. Wrong. Does not work that way. And what typically happens is if you look at a lot of corporate mentorship programs, you'll find that they spend all their time focusing on the professional development, on the career development piece. They don't look at the personal side. Yeah, right?
We've got our own self-limiting beliefs, and that is what stops us from overcoming a lot of our goals, huh?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when I sit down with somebody, and even using that 5-hour story of working with, if they're looking at terminating, I spend my first couple sessions focusing on the person and sort of trying to figure out where are we with self-esteem, where are we with self-confidence, what are some of the root causes for the behavior that we're seeing? What's that all about? And trying to figure that out. I don't even talk about the career development piece or any of that. I don't even go anywhere near it. And, another good example is I remember I was asked, or I was basically asked to meet with this individual who was an entrepreneur, wanted to start their own business, and thought that I should, it was suggested that they meet with me and, talk about possibly having a business mentor and that. And so we sit down to have the first conversation. And so I thought, oh, let's ask this question and just see where it goes. And so I said, so why would I want to buy your service? Well, I don't know. I don't know why you'd want to buy it. So do you believe in what it is that you offer? Well, not totally. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why anyone would want to do business with me. I said, okay, so before we talk about building a business, let's talk about believing in a business. And right, so yeah, just another example of the focusing on. So we spent a lot of time focusing on the personal growth, and as you kind of open the doors and go along, here was somebody that had childhood trauma that they've been packing around for so long that it actually influenced their how they saw themselves.
Yeah. Wow. You're doing some really good stuff. Wow. So as I understand it, the people that you're serving are primarily corporations and their employees, yes? Or are you serving a different audience?
I would say that it's a combination of I serve organizations, yes, and I guess organizations with the idea in mind that that's going to benefit the employees as well. But I also have those individuals. My favorite line that I always use is, I'll never leave anyone on the island by themselves.
Nice.
And so if somebody comes to me and says, I can't afford to pay you, I don't know, what can we do? I'll figure it out. Because the other part I always say, if money's an issue, let's have the conversation up front and we'll figure it out. But I will I'm kind of like the doctor's office. I take walk-ins just as much as I do people that make appointments.
Nice. Nice. Wow, this is such great stuff. So, what was it in your life? I mean, you were part of the police force.
Yeah.
Did you just seem to love people, right?
Yeah.
That is a really great trait. I love people too. I absolutely. Somebody asked me years ago, Jen, if I could give you $1 million and you could have no friends, would you take the $1 million? I said no.
Yeah.
I would never trade any of my friends even for $1.
Yeah.
Because I I value all of these people so much, so dearly, right? So no, not even $1, because in fact, you know what? There's a gal that I follow. Her name is Lee Richter, and she talked about the 4 currencies. A lot of us, when we talk about currency, we're talking about money, but there are 3 others. There are relationships, there's time, and then there's knowledge. And when things are upside down, like in COVID, like in rough economic times, like any time that we're feeling challenged, sense of loss, whatever, of those 4 currencies, yeah, money's good, but when things are upside down, the most important currency is relationships, because
Yeah.
those relationships are going to bring you more money or more time or more knowledge when you nurture them. Yeah. Wow. So really what I want to know is, why do you do what you do? Because this is really great stuff that you're doing. What is it that gets you out of bed every day, especially when you're dealing with people that, like, that phrase, you can bring the horse to water, but you can't make them drink?
Yeah.
For those in resistance, how do you handle those, and what keeps you going?
I think my why would be that I want to be able to change the world one person at a time. And, how, or the how and the what, is that's simply done by building those trusted relationships and listening and hearing what people are saying, so that I'm able to guide them where, to the answers for the questions that they're asking. How do I do this, or why would I want to do that? Or, I want to start a business. How do I do that? And what do I need to be worried about? And all of those things, those are all part of the how and the what, that, in response to why I do things. But it is definitely to, make a difference in the world. And doing that simply one person at a time, one organization at a time. And to me, that I don't need an alarm clock.
Nice.
I don't need an alarm clock.
You love what you do, and you don't beg for Friday to arrive, and you don't necessarily hate Mondays, right? Because a lot of people, they don't like Mondays,
Yeah,
and they live for Friday because they don't like what they're doing.
yeah. Well, and I carry stuff into the weekend. Like, if somebody says, can I meet with you Saturday at 2 o'clock? Done. We book it in, and, so there's really no difference between what's weekday and weekend. It's, if there's a need, let's deal with that, and let's have that conversation.
Wow. How do you find the organizations that you want to help? I mean, that's amazing.
Most of the time, it's usually someone within the organization, or somebody in a position of authority within the organized decision maker, that will actually, say, we need to have a conversation with you and figure out, well, we need to have a conversation with you, and we'll leave it at that. What I typically will do with a lot of these organizations is, if you're going to bring me in, don't tell me too much of what your problem is. Let me find out on my own. Let me ask the questions that
Nice.
I need to ask. So I just finished a culture assessment on an organization, and I asked 2 questions. The first was, can you describe your culture in 3 words? And the second was, if you could change any 5 things in the organization today, what would they be? And one of them cannot be terminating somebody.
Wow.
And from that, I pull out common themes, and I make recommendations on how to address some of that, some of those issues that we identify. So how I gather the data is, I interview employees and management, and I'll do a random sample of, I've done as many as, gosh, what was one of the bigger ones that I had was, I think we did about 28 interviews, and then I cleansed the data that I got, and went and dropped it into various categories, and then from there made recommendations on how they could make changes within the organization that would help enhance the culture.
Nice. And so what are some of the results that come about after you've done what you've done with for these organizations?
It's mixed. Some of them will actually, I worked with one that one of my recommendations was that they have their managers take the crucial conversation training, and they did that. And the other was that they put mentoring into place for their leadership team to, to give them some extra tools and techniques and stuff. And we're still mentoring 7 years later. They so much enjoy the conversations, and the fact that, here's somebody that I can go to and say, can I just talk my way through this? Can you listen to what I'm saying and that? And that's exactly what, what we do. And like I said, it's been, I think it's 7 or 8 years that we've been doing it now. And, that's a testament just by itself.
That is so cool, Doug. Oh my gosh. So what advice do you have for our listeners? Oh my gosh, there's so much you could say, but what would you summarize for everybody to take away?
You know, I think the most important thing is, you know, it's like we say with mental health is, you know, it's okay to say help. It's okay to ask for help. And how I see for everything that I do, you know, you don't need to internalize all of that stuff that's going on in your world. You just need to reach out and, you know, just open. It's almost to the extent where I sometimes will say to people, it's okay to come out of the closet and say, I think I need help, right?
Ooh, yeah, yeah. You know what? To give that safe space for people to know that they can say that. Say, you know,
Yeah,
vulnerability is people are still discovering that vulnerability is okay.
yeah,
And vulnerability makes you more authentic. And when you can say, I need help, even if you just need to delegate more, whatever
yeah,
that is, you know, don't be afraid to say it. So good for you. Good for
yeah,
you.
yeah.
How do people get a hold of you, Doug? Because you are remarkable. How, and I'm going to write this all down
Okay.
while you're talking. How do we contact the fabulous Doug Lawrence?
Well, okay. So you can do a search on LinkedIn and you'll find my profile there. That's number one. Number two, you can go to my company website, which is www.talentc.ca. So the word talent, letter C on the end, .ca.
TalentC
.ca.
dot
Yeah,
ca
yeah.
for okay, gotcha. TalentC. And what does TalentC stands for?
So that's a name that I had picked. Actually, I didn't pick it. So it was it was a my original name for the company was Talent Shore. So talent and then shore, Shore. And the reason for that was I had this picture in my mind of a young person sitting on the shore of a large body of water, and it was symbolic of their journey, their career journey. When you looked out across the water, that
Huh?
was their journey. And so when I went to register the name, um, I was told that, sorry, you can't have Talent Shore. There's other stuff close by. So my good wife Deborah and I used to go together um, for pedicures. And so we went for pedicures this one day, and the young lady that was working on me, she said, so tell me, how's the business going? Because we talked about it all the time. And I said, not very good. The company name I picked, it's gone. I can't use it. And she goes, duh, TalentC. And I go, okay, walk me through that. And she said, well, if number one, you want to draw attention to what it is you're doing. So if you go TalentC, people are going to say, what's the C for? And then you can tell your story. So she said, duh, it's a no brainer. Just register TalentC. So that's how it came to be.
That is awesome. That is so cool. So talent, the letter C.
Yeah,
Dots. Awesome. As opposed to SEA. Yeah, I know.
right.
C. She's
And
close,
then,
close by the seashore.
yeah. And then if they want to send an email, they can I have no problems whatsoever, and I'll turn it around pretty quick, but they can reach me at doug.lawrence, LAWRENCE, at talentc.ca.
Great. Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys had a great time meeting Doug Lawrence and listening to some of his wisdom and mentoring. If you want to get a hold of him, my goodness, talentc.ca up in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. Don't drop by his house though. He's not able to see you just yet. But after COVID, he'll be looking forward to at least shaking your hand, right?
And a cup of coffee.
Right on. Such a pleasure, Doug. Thank you so very, very much. And you have a beautiful evening. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.